Hello, I'm Gads, and welcome back to the free-to-play review. So today's topic is going to be the latest iteration and potentially the worst I've ever seen iteration of the Deck of Fate, the Brave Deck of Fate. Now we'll get to why my opinion is as such, but this is a pretty brutal one because it's Dungeon Divers, which is objectively the worst form of acquiring points for any such event like this one, on top of there being a Soulstone summoning or a Soul Rush aspect of it, which isn't ideal because there is no boosted rates or anything like that going on for Soulstones. So you'd just be ripping them in pursuit of probably a relatively underwhelming guaranteed champion, that being the Knave of Hearts. He's just not that impressive. Provoking on the A1, he can AoE attack, steal some buffs, and then unkillable and taunt, so he can, I guess, draw some aggro, and then he can HP swap, do a little bit of equalization, increase defense. I don't know. I don't really know what he's supposed to do per se. You know, he can restore his own destroyed max HP, but it's just like, it's very selfless. Maybe if he restored everyone's on his turns, I don't know. So I don't know what he's supposed to do in the game, and he doesn't really seem like a champion who's worth investing in for the purposes of a guaranteed champion. Plus, like I mentioned, you basically have to blitz your account with all the Soulstones that you have and hope that you could get a relatively underwhelming champion, just because the amount of fragments that are going to be up for grabs amongst all the cards means that you're going to have to most likely pull, if not all of them, a majority of the cards. This is essentially similar to the Deck of Fate they had for Freya, although it's not as punishing in terms of the ratio of the points. As we can see if we scroll all the way down here, we'll take a look at the spreadsheet in a second here, but the Dungeon Divers aspects are a little bit lower than before, and then the Soulstones are not the worst we've seen compared to the Freya Deck of Fate, but they are still relatively underwhelming compared to the maximum that we've seen in the past. And then for anyone who's unfamiliar with the whole gimmick of the Deck of Fate, there are 40 cards in total, and they have different rarities. 18 are common, 14 are rare, and 8 are epic in this particular deck, and they house all of these various rewards. Majority of the nodes, like I mentioned, are going to be fragments, 5, 10s, 15s, whatever, for the Knave of Hearts. And then if you do happen to get 3 of a kind in a row, then you have a chance to roll on each of these respective tables for some of these rewards. And in this case, there is the pinning option, so you can pin rares and epics, and so you can guarantee yourself a roll on one of the tables just by pinning the rarity that you seek to stack up over time. If we hop over to the spreadsheet, we can take a look at these numbers in a little bit more detail to kind of understand them. So there is the Dungeon Divers aspect, which is this giant section here, and the main takeaway is that currency per energy, and so card flip cost, whatever, it's 40,000 for the entire deck, 1,000 per flip, 40 cards in the deck. So for each unit of energy spent, you're going to average less than 1 currency per flip, meaning that it would cost an exorbitant amount of dungeon runs in order to get 40,000 points, so over 40,000 energy, which is just ridiculous. No one's going to do that. It's impractical. You can do it as a little bit of a buffer, a bonus to whatever Soulstone summoning you would be doing if you're pursuing this, but you cannot depend on the Dungeon Divers aspect to carry this Deck of Fate. And then for the Soulstone summoning section here, we have this, and these are the values, and this is the newer value that I added recently, which is what I'm calling the nerf applier, meaning that it's whatever fraction of the maximum we've ever seen for Soulstones being offered in a Deck of Fate. So this time we were at 80%. For comparison, Freya, the Deck of Fate, the one that was super controversial way back when last year, was 60% of the maximum we've seen, which is why a lot of us were very, very mad about that. But this is 80%, which is not the worst, but it's still not that great compared to even the last Deck of Fate, which did not have a guaranteed champion, was a 90%. So it's a little bit better than this one. And so the main takeaway here is that if you have 500 mortals, 50 immortals, or 10 eternals, then you could max out the entire deck, and thus guaranteeing that you can get the Knave of Hearts from the Deck of Fate. But if you have anything less than that, you'd either have to buy the Soulstones, which obviously I would never recommend, or you're just SOL and you can't do it because the Dungeon Divers is not going to compensate for your lack of Soulstones. The spreadsheet will be linked in the description box down below if you'd like to check it out for yourself in more detail and look at all of the various tabs, because there's a lot of good information here, various calculators similar to the Deck of Fate calculator. So once again, main takeaway here is that unless you're really sitting on a bunch of Soulstones or you really want Knave of Hearts, and I would be keen to know why you would want him, it just doesn't really seem worth it. This is kind of like another deck of skip to me. There's no incentive to do anything. I'm working on the fusion, so you can see that I have some credit here in terms of points, so maybe by the end of it I'll have like 2 2 to 3 flips just from the normal energy I'm going to be using for the purposes of the fusion, but I'm not really going to pay attention to this at all. It doesn't really exist. I don't really care. Then whatever flips will get me is, I guess, bonus rewards. I cannot in good conscience recommend that you guys participate in this at all either, unless you just really, really want to pull your Soulstones. You've just been sitting on them for a while. Like I said, there is no boosted rates in the Altar of Souls. There's nothing going on right now. And if you wanted to have some perspective, I happen to have, 400 mortals right now, and I still technically could, I guess like mathematically could do it if I combined the mortals and the immortals. I'd have to check that, but I'm not going to use all of my mortals for the Knave of Hearts, right? That just doesn't really make sense. And plus, again, there's no boosted rates. There's no 2x on 5 and 6 star perfect souls. So it's just not worth it to me to pursue this, and I definitely don't recommend anyone else pursuing this. But that is just my take. Let me know what your thoughts are on the Deck of Fate, the Brave Deck of Fate, in the comment section down below. Are you in my camp where it's another deck of skip, or do you have a ton of resources and you're really, really keen on getting the Knave of Hearts for yourself? As always, if you did find this video helpful, then be sure to hit that like button down below. It really does help out the channel. And if you are enjoying the content on this channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button down below as well for more content just like this one in the future. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.